Hey everyone, especially all my hunters out there. Hopefully you make this recipe. It is Swiss steak but made with venison backstrap. So all my hunters, all my friends and wives to hunters, and if you have that piece of backstrap in your fridge or in your freezer, now you know how to make it. This is a great meal and it will fake out anybody because they will never know that it's venison. So if you have kids that think, oh gosh, I don't want to eat venison, or if you have a wife, make this for her. She will never know the difference. She'll probably be suspicious because you're cooking in the kitchen, but I recommend making it. It is really, really good and delicious, and it's also a meal that will piggyback off to another meal. So in a couple days, we'll make beef stroganoff with the leftovers. So enjoy, and thanks for watching The Julie Way. Before we get started on our backstraps, make sure to peel all your potatoes and get them in some salted water on the stove top. Next, take your backstraps and cut them into palm-sized pieces. Then we're going to take each piece and butterfly that. And how you do that is you cut gently down the middle of your meat. Do not cut all the way through. Fold it open and then do the same thing on the right side and the left side. Next, we'll get our dredging station ready. We are going to use 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and we're going to add 1 tablespoon each of pepper, granulated garlic, and onion seasoning, and 2 teaspoons of salt. Mix your flour mixture together, and then take your butterflied pieces and dredge them into your flour and set aside. I'm going to break in here real quick and I'm going to explain to you some mallets. This is the most popular hammer type mallet. It has a groove side for tenderizing, has a flat side for flattening out your meat. Say you have a chicken breast, you kind of want it all even so it cooks evenly. This is the best bang for your buck. They're anywhere between $5 to $25. I think I remember finding that one at IKEA. This is a meat tenderizer. It has sharp teeth in it. Every time you go into the meat, it's tenderizing it, and it's also great for marinating. Go ahead and poke this into your meat and throw it in some marinade, and every time you see a little groove in your meat, it's just sucking in that marinade, so it works great for that. If all else fails, you use 2 butter knives. Do what I'm doing on the video. You're just working the flour into the meat, especially on backstraps with venison. It's so tender, you're just kind of flattening it out and getting the flour worked in. And then we have a pastry blender. That will also work in a pinch. This is for all my baker friends who don't maybe cook, but they love to bake. This will work too. So next, we want to work on our dredging station. This works best if you do it all on a baking sheet. Easy cleanup. I like using the hammer mallet the best, but you can also use the other methods as shown. We have the knife method. If your meat is more of a tough cut, you might want to poke it with a fork to make it a little bit more tenderized. And then we're also using the tenderizer. Just use one of these methods. Go ahead and add a nice amount of canola oil to the bottom of your pan. You're going to want a stainless steel pan or a cast iron pan for cooking. You'll want to make sure that it is oven proof. Next, we're going to add our meat to the pan. You'll want to hear that nice sizzle, and you're going to sear both sides of the meat. You are not trying to finish cooking the meat here. You're just searing both sides and making it brown and crusty. You'll want to continue to do this all the way through. At the end, we'll use the same skillet to make our gravy in. Now remember, you want to make sure that your meat is nice and brown on the outside. You'll want it to look similar to this, and then set it aside. After removing all of the pieces of brown meat, add oil to the pan. Add more of the dredging flour if needed. Mix well with a whisk. Do not burn the flour, but cook till brown. Add 1 pat of butter to your pan and add more flour if needed. By adding the butter, you will get this nice glossy gravy and have undertones of this brown butter flavor. As you are whisking in your flour, you'll notice that your pan will start to smoke a little bit. That is the perfect time to add your beef broth. Back up because you're going to get a steam facial. Just keep adding the beef broth until you have a nice consistency of gravy. Then we're going to add the meat back to the kettle and we are going to put it in the oven. Continue to whisk your gravy until there are no more lumps and add enough beef broth to your liking. Remember to taste as you go. Everything you cook, you should always taste. Add more seasoning if you feel it needs it. Remember, your gravy will thicken as the meat bakes in it. There is flour around the meat, and that will help your gravy thicken. Next, just nestle in all your meat amongst the gravy and cover it, and let's put it in the oven at 350 for about an hour. After around 30 minutes, you can take a peek at it and see if you need to add more broth if it's too thick. Otherwise, it is ready to serve. Doesn't that look delicious? And by adding that butter to your gravy, it just makes it shine. When your potatoes are tender, drain, add some butter to your potatoes, add some milk, and mash them up. That is how simple this meal is. Next, we'll scoop our potatoes onto our plate. I always have an old school ice cream scooper to make that perfect mound of potatoes with that perfect divot in the middle. For our second vegetable tonight, I made buttercup squash. I roasted it in the oven at 350 for 1 hour with drizzled olive oil and salt and pepper over it. This was such a budget, family-friendly meal. It gave me 2 large filled dinner plates for Donnie and I for supper, plus 1 large bowl for my lunch the next day, and a whole other bowl layered with venison backstrap to piggyback off to make beef stroganoff in a couple days.